This is a recording that I've been meaning to do for approximately the last week and a half, but I decided to wait. Um, this one is about, well, let's go back. So during the campaign, Stacey Abrams' campaign, there was a moment where Stacey Abrams was getting into a vibe. She was having she was, I guess, with amongst her people, she was getting in the rhythm. The energy was going. People start feeling and understanding her passion for what she was doing. And then Brian Kemp does this thing where he dog whistles um, something like dog whistles that she's being uppity. And I remember I posted something about that at the time. This is a normal standard tactic. Energy gets going, and then they try to pull the rug. Last week, the same thing was going. I'm getting my energy going because I know I got to to DC and everything, get that energy flowing. And then this is when McRaven releases his little fucking book, swallowing the bullfrog, basically calling me the bullfrog. That's fine, whatever. But he releases it then. But this time he was a little freaked out because the day before I had, you know, he was honing in. He was seeing the energy build up. He probably then's like, okay, we can release it because I didn't know how these things work. It's not. I know how to do book publishing. It's not that big of a deal. You can usually time it out 6 months, whatever, and then you can hone it in for when you need it. Once it's in the publishing line, you just gotta wait to do the marketing, and you can do just in time publishing and all this other things. And most of it's on Kindle, anyways. So the releases the book, but so the energy was building, the SF guys, whatever, they're behind, we're going to get this going. And he pulls that by releasing the book. But the other thing he did, is he implied about some things that happened in my past that were defamations, are defamations. And that was the impropriety, basically, twice accused of uh, rape. Now, here's the thing: on both of those times, every time I've had problems with women, it's not because I did something, and I mean problems, I mean accusations or whatever. It's not because I did something; it's because I didn't do what they thought I was supposed to do. So then they would then go use the network to try to attack me. Both of these times are the same things. So it took the wind out of the sails for a bit, but the good news is the young people picked up the slack. But this time, McRaven and the Admiralty, or those who I call traders, a little bit more, a little bit stunned, and it was his thing of showing how he beat me. Well, he hasn't beat me. They're still doing this shit coming to North Place, still fuck with my laundry. They're just waiting for me to collapse and not be able to make money and they go on the streets or whatever, and then they can finally kill me, which is his main goal. It's always been his main goal. The fat next door neighbor who moved from downstairs to upstairs beside me, and then they're manipulating the cameras and everything. The guy I called a coward, who is a coward. He is exact him and the other dude, Gavin. They're exactly Gavin's like it was Hammett's little, who should have never gotten a commissions. Little mini me, and that's McRaven, McChrystal. They're all the same bigotry, same rhythm patterns, same personality. And then you have Strickvitas, which is the fat guy. Also, it's like a combination. They're both bigots and psychopaths and narcissists, especially the guy, the big. He was supposed to get in a fight with me, and then accidentally, oh, it just happened, self defense. They would have manipulated the cameras, whatever. Only problem is he's a little bitch, just like Rob was. I say was, past tense. Um, he's a little bitch. So it would have actually turned out worse for him. And when he did try to get in my space, I pushed him away. Good thing I pushed him away instead of finishing off the, uh, the wrist lock and bringing him all the way to the ground. They would have made it said I was being aggressive, but I pushed him away and went into, uh, and he knew not to get near me because I would have ripped his head off with ease. And since then, they've sent different assassins, different things. All right, now this what brings us up today is I did a test to see who's who in the management in the hotel where I'm at or where I'm at. Who's trying to throw me under the bus? Apparently, it's the maintenance guy, but that's all right. Uh, Sometimes I can act stupid or seemingly strange, but I'm actually doing other things when I'm when that's got going on. So the main purpose of this one is the realization because I was basically doing it when I was talking to doing the mate, figure out who's who, who's trying to throw me under the bus, who's working for Make It Raven because like this pheromone shit's all over the place. It's in my clothes. I do my laundry. I go down there, leave my shit. They fucking pour the shit into there. And my clothes are. This is a constant harassment, and it's done by the Democratic Party. Because if not, it's done because the whole goal is for I guess it started off as the military, or they were used because well I don't know about that, but I do know that McRaven because I can get a date with my Starbucks. Last time I was out at Starbucks, a bunch of young SEALs being trained. So there's all these. He's pulling active duty SEALs into this situation. So he has way too much pull. And this is also how, under the guise of training, how he was able to harass, harangue. Uh, this is uh, probably different officers, different things. What they did to destroy my career, I can guarantee you, wasn't the first time. But the fact that they've been continuously doing this since I was out of the military, well, that's something that I'll continue on at, tomorrow dealing with the military, and then uh, Saturday deal with the present time. But the whole goal was to stop me from talking about what happened while I was serving and everything like that. But so before I get to that part, which is I'll do that with tomorrow, as I said, we're going to deal with what happened at Full Sail because it's occurring to me because I've been seeing the same pattern, same behavior pattern, and it's not just the behavior pattern. There's like a behavior pattern in an individual, and then you have a collective behavior pattern. As like for instance, when I was talking downstairs, talking to the manager, telling what's going on. I know that she knows what's going on. I think she knows. I'm pretty sure she knows who I am. And then you have the maintenance guy, who's definitely more racist leaning, but he had rhythms. So if I wouldn't be surprised if he got the key. Granted, they probably just use the technology they have to break into my place. But I wouldn't be surprised if they got the key from him to break into my place, and a couple other different persons on this floor that have come through. It's kind of a lot of what Raven does is reminds me of that Milton. I think that the shock thing, or the shock experiment, where they kept shocking the person until because there was an authority figure, and shows how evil really does work. Because when people don't have to, when they can, let's say, offshore responsibility for their actions, where they'll do the most negative and horrific things especially if they already have that within their hearts. So the thing about what's the reason this full sale thing comes up is right now I know this is what they think they're going to do. The 1% think they're going to manage me. That's not going to happen, especially with much capital I'll be using. Uh, we thought granted I love full sale, but not anyone from the internet marketing department, especially persons, the cohort of Renesky, Rob Kroll, and Ken DiGilio. Uh, they're basically a bunch of bigots. And I don't say that lightly. It's their behaviors and their actions and words have told me that they're bigots, especially Rob Kroll. His whole career has been made off of theft of my ideas. So his whole career at Full Sail, at least. So that's what's going on for the last week. And this is what I wanted to get to with the Full Sail thing. That's what I was doing the trial balloon on, as because what happened at Full Sail, I now realize is also part of this whole situation. At least part with it was Renesky. It was Rob Kroll, then Renesky, and DiGilio. Now I'm not sure if uh, he got to Renesky, but but the rhythms fit that patterns that. Um, Especially now that I've seen how his rhythms work and the type of person that he is, and how uh, you basically he's a little bitch. I don't care if that he's a SEAL. It's because I SEAL Zero for SEAL Team Six. I have the closer personality traits to, and those Vietnam vets kicked him out. And at that time, that SEAL Zero for SEAL Team Six would have been a Medal of Honor winner, and that's the person who kicked him out. Because I would have never, they kicking a SEAL out of SEAL Team Six is, it's not very lightly done, even back then. And all McRaven's been doing, and McChrystal and whomever, Stravitas, they've just been using red cell techniques to take out different officers, and it's always officers that are seeming to show promise, almost guarantee it. And they've been doing this for decades. At least that's the hypothesis. But anyways, getting back to Full Sail. So as I was at Full Sail, situation is, I was doing the internet for just 2 parts. First part is internet marketing bachelor's, and the second part's master's, entertainment business master's. While I was getting the first part, the internet marketing bachelor's, I thought at first during that time, I thought it was just they were just having problems with marketing or whatever. But I realized it wasn't just that they were having problems with marketing. It was actually also it was the Obama campaign had called. So it was two things. They were having internet marketing problems and this. And so me being me, I was like, okay, I came up with my hypothesis or the theory of marketing I call brand response, which is it's storytelling across multiple dimensions. It's the easiest way of explaining it. So this is what Rob Kroll, and with that process, Full Sail was able to blow up. Because of course now you add really, really smart people to the whole situation, into their marketing campaign, but now they have a structured way of one being able to test and both emotively test and objectively test into a structured process system, which was the main thing. Is you create a structured process system that could be scaled, changed. You have a 0 point. And with that, usually somebody does that wholesale. They will like, hey, you really doing really kick ass. They usually ask you to come on. Now, I always knew Ron Kroll was kind of always reticent. He's one of those assholes who's smart, but gets intimidated by other smart people. And also the fact that he's a bigot. He's a straight up racist. Um, him and Renesky, I was supposed to, um, it was just really weird vibes. All right. And then it was just vibes. I can actually point to different moments where it was like, well, that's really kind of implied bullshit you're telling me, right, Rob? But he ends up becoming, I think, what I it's not course director, which is, well, it's like a professor, but to department head. As Candace Alcorn, the person who put it together, retires. Now, and it's then, as she retires, then his vitriol picks up. And I'm just like, dude, I don't know you, dude. Why are you being a dick? Um, but the realization is he was making his career off of my ideas. He was basically and it really affected me when I was getting my master's because I remember asking multiple course directors like, because I was really did not want to create something that they would steal because Rob had already stolen my ideas. I kind of knew, but I didn't really fully understand it until, like I said, recently and seeing all these bigger patterns coming together. Fridge does some weird shit. And so I was like, okay, whatever. And then I was got that. Then I was like, okay, dealt with a situation, got to my master's internet marketing degree. You know, I can't say I was like this perfect student. I wasn't really. I had other things going on. And just my work, my work ethic's awesome, but it's just, that whole wait till the last moment thing. And also there's so much. It, 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 Rob Kroll did not have any respect for the school, for Full Sail itself, and the students. And I'll go into more so why I say he's a bigot a little bit once I finish what happened with the Masters. Okay, so we get through that. There's just negative vibes of that dude. And then Renesky thinking he's Mr. Super Clever when he's really not. He's a constant between him and DiGilio is always deepest delight. Smile, thinking they're being clever. Eye roll. Um, so we get to the Intermediate Business Master. So that's on quick, on campus. All right. And get involved with this thing called the Student Branding Society now. He, the first guy who started it, it's a great idea. It was a great thing to learn how to do branding, personal branding. And there's this dude Jasper and this other dude, I don't think it's Mike or whatever. I don't fucking know what the dude's name is. A prick. Um, Jasper wanted to be president, but I ended up being president. So putting together things, and Jasper's pulling his little bullshit. And as I'm moving from the East Coast, Florida, to the inland, well, the other dude went on the executive committee, I guess. He's like, yeah, you can just hang out with me for a while until you get a place. I'm like, yeah, that sounds cool, dude. Yeah, this helps you out. I can get that. And I can get a little funds for rent and all this. Dude was an absolute psychopath. Absolute narcissistic, Machiavellian psychopath. Just a candy ass, cowardly piece of shit. At first, I get there, all right. I create a stand up deck because my neck is just so jacked up at this point, right? Tons of I guess, home, and then it's just beat up. And so I have a standing desk that I built myself. I built my own standing desk. And I was like, and he's like, hey, dude, I just keep running into these jerks, like one jerk after the next. And they all act the same way. It's really just fucking horrible. I understand about being in control of your shit, but this is horrible. Like he's like, hey dude, you know, I was like, oh, hey. And I'm like, hey man, oh, he goes, I got a bed, I can just sit there. He's like, okay, cool, because it just saves me a lot of time until I can find a place that I actually like. Because it just takes some time. You don't usually just roll up a place and find a spot. It usually takes about a month or two. And I was older, so I didn't really want to be living in an apartment. Um, has a pad, extra room, but he has a bed with bed bugs, and he knew it had bed bugs in it, right? And I'm sitting there, this was such crazy shit. And I realized this thing has bed bugs. And I'm just like, well, whatever, dude. I'm not going to be incourteous, but I do go out and I get bed bug stuff. Clean, just to kill all the bed bugs. You do a little research. Bed bugs die if you pull, because what it does is like a sand that dries out there and then kills them through dehydration. Two things this dude did. One of the things he did is I was walking upstairs and I dropped my key. I heard him run upstairs and grabs my key because he heard it fall. And then but I kind of just kind of like, huh, I remember my key dropping. I kind of just ignored it. I thought maybe I just heard it or whatever. But this is the same kind of shit Hammett would pull. Runs up, grabs my key, and then I remember later on I had to go for a flight and I couldn't find this key, and then he shows up. Oh, you left it right here, blah 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 blah. It makes a real loud thing, and I'm just like, what the? But now I know it was just being a narcissistic person, Machiavellian narcissistic asshat. Another thing is after I sprayed, he made this big show of there's two things. First, he says, he calls the cops on me because I sit there and I did that to kill the bed bugs, and I'm like sitting there, and then he's always afraid of me. And I was like, what in the fuck is going on? And I realized Jasper and this dude are working together to attack me, whatever. Calls the cops. I just like talk to the cops. I'm like, dude, I don't know. This dude's a little fucking nuts. Then I realized I was the one pretty much saying that the dude was a little fuck knuckle. I ended up, he was completely stunned because he was expecting to be able to pull the bullshit. And I just went smack, smack. But in the SBS, Rob Kroll, this dude Jasper's pulling all these two fucking just horrible human beings, pulling all this shit, very antagonistic. I'm in charge. I'm trying to get this shit done. We do this project, and I'm pretty laid back, but I'm also ridiculously driven, and I have an exceptionally high standard about things when I'm truly doing my work. I'm just like, blah 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 blah. But when it's something that's when it's like my name on it and it's really going to be presented to the world, my work is always exemplary, world class. That is the standard that I always try to work towards, which is, as we know, at that point of excellence, it's always about these small things, and it's not about being overly perfectionist. It's about always trying to improve the idea of kanai, constant, never-ending improvement. So Jasper's pulling his bullshit, and I'm just constantly trying to get this dude, and it's like, and I'm the president, so I'm supposed to be in charge, and he's undercutting me. And then Rob Kroll comes up, goes, "What's going on with Jasper?" And he's verbally, even though he's making it a question, the emote was attacking me. And I'm like, what? I'm the motherfucker in charge. You should be asking me, why is this asshole being that? What's going on? Like, hey man, it was completely unprofessional, especially since I was the president. And he was at making it sound like he was in control. He was never in control of anything. He might have thought he was. He was doing all kinds of things to make it look like he was, but everything as far as the direction and what and how we and the structures, that was me. Even so much so that he would he sent himself. He had no such clear understanding of branding. Anything. He just knows how to bullshit. Bullshit's not branding. Even though a lot of people there's try to make bullshit be branding, that's not it at all. And I remember when we were done and everything, I had looked at the emails that he sent from his SBS account, his Student Branding Society account, to himself, and he would send all of our shit. It was it was kind of funny. He's undercutting everything I was talking about, but he can't do anything I can do. It's typical of your cluster B. So Rob Kroll is doing his little thing, so that's one attack. So making it look like I cover his ass for stealing my ideas and making his career off of brand response marketing. And it's funny, after doing the trial balloon this afternoon, McRaven then tries to cover his ass once again, just pretty much as expected. And then the next part where um, the second part about Full Sail is situation with this chick and this dude. One dude, Drew, he is a bigot. He is the person I realized he was a bigot. And tried to tell Don. Don had no clue. He's just like, oh, I don't see it. And I'm like, oh, God, dude. And I can understand, at this point, I actually could understand because I didn't see it either. I knew he was fairly racist, kind of a hillbilly, but I didn't realize he was a straight up bigot. And when I did realize he was a straight up bigot, that's when the other dude in class, it was a surprise. It wasn't like, oh, you're a bigot. It was more like, oh, God, you're a bigot. He just kind of popped out, kind of so surprised. I was like, wow, that's unusual. Usually you can catch those. And the other dude in the class, they forgot about him. So he was able to dip and he watched how the this female course director and this dude took over the class and once again segregated. Don gets into the reason Don does, and it was years later. I was talking to Don. I told him I was like, "Yeah, you're." Told him that that this course director said you didn't need me in all this, and he gave me a non-answer. He says like, "Yeah," which is a non-answer is an answer. Because if I was been wrong, he would have said, "Yeah." He was like, "No, man," but I was right. I knew everything. I knew that she was segregating me away, trying to say you didn't need this because Drew was after this little blonde hair, blue eye chick who actually, this is the thing about a lot of these women. They will like me. Some racist will come in and then they will have to, they'll like, oh, well, I can't do this anymore. Saw this when I was at Bombardier. Women do not have a backbone to do what is right. I'm just sorry. They never do what is right. I've not seen it. I have, Miss Hatfield, um, even after me, after, after finding out this shit's real, I still haven't heard a fucking an apology. Not even trying to reach out and apologize. It's like, hey man, I messed up. Sorry. The highlight of the, and will I ever get one? No, because she's a coward. And that's the thing that sucks because I've held her in higher esteem. But women, I've never met a woman who has that kind of backbone. Because she was all pissed off that she was actually in love with me. I said to her, hey, I should have asked you out, but hey, you said you were a lesbian. So you're a lesbian. I'm going to go with that. They were your friends. Yeah, I'm kind of goofy, but to throw me under the bus, that's just bullshit. You know, and then women, because there's not any say they don't have to consequences for their actions. Like right now, she thinks, well, oh, we'll still be friends. I'm like, not really. I can't trust you. You know, yeah, when the time was for me to trust you, you blew it. Then she's probably going to say, well, I got my wife and all that. So she doesn't have to deal with, take responsibility for her shit behavior in this particular case. Because it's me. It was, she would, marketing, she would talk to me about it. It was because I talked to her about branding and some of the ideas I did about branding. Now I realize I was McRaven listening in, and then that's because you realize that she went to University of Texas, and then you told her to go, and then to go teach, and then she had that. Then probably wouldn't be surprised if the asshole that she was starting to become violent, and then externalizing the violence, the anger towards to her wife that I had to kibosh. I would not be surprised if it was McRaven whispering in that dude's ear to be a complete asshole. But that's just the behavior of women in general. But anyways, so this chick, so this dude Drew, who actually had liked her, and I even said, "Hey, dude, he's been going after her from the beginning," but she actually liked me. Now, will she ever say that? Of course not. She doesn't have any backbone. She's a woman. I hate to say this, but she's a Caucasian woman, European American woman. They made her so afraid of me when there was no reason to be. When the reality is, this dude Drew, who was a bigot, so, just like McRaven, the bigot psychopath, blonde hair, and he's a blonde hair, blue eyed, straight up that type of I'm special kind of thing bigot. When he wasn't, he was just a dipshit. Um, you know, they slandered and defamed my name, and so they were sitting there trying to uh, take me out. And it was funny. The exact same day they were gonna, well, she's doing all this things, and we have all of this stuff because I just kind of I was romantic, and I'm writing emails. I think we're good, and it's that pullback where back then I was never, I still don't play game. I don't really, not into the whole gotta run game, and my whole life is not about fucking chasing stupid bitches. The chick doesn't know how to communicate. Just be my what I expect and want from a woman. Most women I've only met it a very, very few times, and then it's usually some other dipshit chick comes in and fucks it up. So because once again, the network is more important to women than actually learning to communicate. Because I notice that when women realize a woman is talking to a dude and they actually communicate, they other women then get jealous and they'll do everything they can to destroy that. That's I get back to the military story. I'll get to that one. And as I now know, that was being directed by the admirals. But so this course director is defaming my name, libeling my character. This chick's terrified of me now. But I had gone to the school. I was like, dude, this course director's acting way fucked up, and I'm showing in real time. Just as like the other day, I was at Target talking to those three chicks and having a great conversation. I can understand double speak, feminine language. It's not that hard. It's actually as easy as breathing. And there happened to be a woman, and she actually, it was funny. I remember her as I'm talking to her, she double spoke, and then she realized I looked at her, I didn't say a word, and then she realized, like, oh shit, you understood what I just said. Yup. Oh, and that's just the beginning. That's easy. That's oh god, you have no idea. But anywho, and so they couldn't. So this chick ends up so terrified she leaves, whatever, leaves that class. But in all of it, I'm realizing You know, then now and then later on, Full Sail. Oh, you hate Full? I didn't hate Full Sail. I thought it was a great school. I just saw two shitty people who believed they had. You know what? Those fuckers came back in here. Every time I leave, they spray that shit around. Um, yep, that's a new one. Um, and they had sprayed that pheromonic crap all over the place. Is they changed up uh, the formula so it's harder to clean off, but they still, and then they also doesn't some other things. But so the thing is, all these women, whenever they like, because what he was doing when he was talking about, try to pull up the whole rape thing. Here's the thing. What I love over the last week is nobody fell for it this time. They knew it was all bullshit. And if this chick is still, it's probably the one in Tahoe. And if the other chick talking shit, what situation in Full Sail, well then, I want, just like when I'm gonna go back to the apartments complex, and I'm gonna definitely do take out RPM now because McRaven has to stop me from getting to DC, getting to the coronation, because when those two things are done, I will destroy him. I don't have to kill him, but I will destroy him, just like he has destroyed my life for the last 20 years. And you might say, why would he? What's so special about you? Well, besides the situation I know now, I didn't know that. He would have. They would have known that because once I got my clearance, even the secret clearance, they would have known that. And also by the behaviors, which I'll go back over tomorrow. But the pulling out the whole uh, uh, rape thing and or you don't have to talk to women thing. It's not that. I first girl I ever really could say I was in love with. That's the 0 point. They check you in high school. Even though even a couple of in high school, we always talked. We had communication. The women, I'm not turned on by the whole playing game, and I'm just a hopeless romantic, kind of goofy, to be honest with you. Um, but I was not into it. I'm not into the whole bullshit. It's just way too much work for outputs that are not worth it. You see people in shitty marriages and they never learned how to communicate. But the chicks I was with, they were definitely universal eights and up as far as hotness, as physical attractiveness. And then they were to a woman as far as intelligence, you know, genius IQ, great EQ, SQ, whatever. There's great people. And it was always the old school take your time, communicate, learn how to, I'd sit on hours talking. Anyways, talking on the phone to my girl at the time. Or maybe she was my girl. I don't know. Who knows? Whatever. Yeah, no, I really, I would have married her, that's for sure. But that's that's what I like. That's what, and then, but when women will do, that's what Robin would. That's what I liked about Robin as a friend. I was like, yeah, dude, she knows how to communicate. Then she pulls that fucking bullshit. Um, it's just such. It's like it's such a turnoff. It's just like, ugh. As they say, you should find the woman that you're going to go to war with. It. That's going to be there. It's going to be there for you. You're going to be there for her. And the only way you can really truly find that out is by communicating. So anytime I deal with a woman, women, I find out time and time again, women actually, when they do their attacks, it's not because they don't like me. They attack me because they do like me. It's like that situation in here I think it's TV show Heroes. There was this one blonde chick, and I think she had a dude. She was black guy. She had to be across from, and then she started acting like a complete shit. That's why she was acting like a complete shit. She was she was falling for her black co-star, and she wasn't supposed to in her mind. But she must have been falling hard because the amount of crap that she gave the production is proportional at the minimum to the amount of feelings she had for her co-star, the person that she had to work with. This is how women don't deal with their own emotions and then start trying to externalize it on others. So, McRaven pulls his little rabbit out of the hat. Well, I'll get you, and with them white women. I'm like, get the fuck out of here, dude. People can be with whoever they want. It's none of your damn business. And that's the thing about these cluster bees. They believe, like, for instance, as I said, you have the gangbangers, you have like McRaven, and they're all thinking, oh, okay, yeah, okay, you'll get to DC, and then you'll do this, and we'll still have control over you. No, no, you don't, because I can't let that happen anyways, especially as a duke, and especially by gangbangers. Can't let that happen. I'm not going to. As myself as the state. But I was so heartened this time because usually, as you saw with what happened with Stacey Abrams, because if she kept going, keeping that energy flowing, man, she would have throttled Brian Kemp. But then she went back into being really kind of not herself. She wasn't showing her true passion for Georgia and what she believed in. So people weren't really sure if she was just being a politician. But in this case, the kids stepped up. They said, no, they're not going to let, we know that's bullshit. We know, we see what's going on. And I said, kids, remember, I'm 50, I'm an old guy now. And they see what happens. They saw the BS and they picked up the slack. And more so than anything, they want to change the world to be the place they want to live in. And now, Fox News is hammering down on and Kathleen Kennedy because she's been throwing the United States under the bus for the last 30 years, 20 years. That she's got a lot of money from China and it's got worse. And I'll get back to that when I get to her on Saturday on this bullshit. And oh yeah, yeah, and there's another thing with that Full Sail. And one of the dudes I went to school with, who works with J.J. Abrams, and yeah, he would never have. Yeah, fuck it, I'll just get it out of the way. So you see, back to the Full Sail thing is, Mike, who works Snyder, he was a good writer, I guess. I never read his stuff, and it was funny because I knew Mike's dad was a bigot, but apparently I didn't realize. Like, yeah, it's like I always, as I told Mike, I'm like, hey, dude. I usually kind of back away because I know, it's hard if you come from a family of racists to not be a racist. Usually, so I usually kind of like, but there was a time Mike was down, right? He lost a job, couldn't get a writing gig, whatever. So I noticed that. I'm like, okay, I had just gotten this something, and I was like, hey, maybe we can do something because that was the whole goal. That that course director screwed up, so we were all supposed to push each other, and we each do good in our own things, and then we can come together, collaborate, and that moves the whole class to, uh, more so. But everyone's thinking, "Oh, I'm this big evil person or whatever." So, anyways, I saw that. I was like, "Hey, dude, um, we can start a production company. What do you need here out in Cali?" I really let's get with marketing, and the contract that he's using, that he used to get back into working with J.J. Abrams and whatever back into Hollywood. That's the contract that he did with me. And I even told him, I was like, I know you're probably going to screw me over, but we'll see what happens. See if you have any integrity. Obviously, he has no integrity. That's just a California thing, cutthroat, blah blah blah. No biggies. It's I know now. I know that the contract that I created is a wicked kick-ass contract. 'Cause it's probably just like it's done everything everybody else I go. It revolutionized the situation, the system. Now, will I share that contract? No, but I definitely would using. I will give the okay. Well, yeah, they sprayed this place again because anytime they spray it, it's just fucking horrible right after. Because they spray this shit into my clothes, everything, dude. It is shite. It's it. I mean, but so he gets back in the good graces of Hollywood because he knows how to contract. But it was my contract that I paid for because I actually was a lawyer, and it's the structure of the contract. And Mike, being Mike, who always has a permanent duper's delight smile on his face, thinking, "Oh, he's being clever." And I'm like, "No, dude, you're not clever." It's just like, whatever. Just I front load the trust. Can I trust you in the front? I can't trust you at the small in the beginning. And then he's probably saying, "Oh yeah, well, that was done, man. Now we can." No, want nothing to do with him either. And that's why I say to J.J. Abrams and Kathleen Kennedy, I die, you die. Because the other thing with Kathleen Kennedy is she's using Ryan Johnson. She's setting Ryan Johnson up to take over Lucasfilm. And that would be a fucking disaster. Because her whole goal is completely to wipe out George Lucas. What did she do? She made Ray a Palpatine, which is her, and said, "Oh, I'm a Skywalker." I erased everything George Lucas did. I erased George Lucas. And she then, have the Old Republic and all that, which is all good and all. Because there should be space, as far as the thing with the Visions was cool. And then Willow, which sucks. It sucks. I didn't get to watch it. I didn't watch it, but it sucks because that Willow was really cool. It was a really cool TV show. So I think it's not just about Star Wars, but it's about giving creators space, and their narcissism won't be able to allow that to happen. So it's a back and forth. They're always it's Lucasfilm's going to have that antagonism that those who believe in the light and doing the best working together, and then you're going to have an antagonistic group. And I guess those two banging heads. But right now, the next person should not be Ryan Johnson, just because he was being rewarded for shitting on George Lucas. That's why he was going to get that trilogy because he shat on George Lucas. That's why nobody understood what was going on. Yeah, and people understand that why even George became, he was always a bit of a curmudgeon, you know, it's part about being an introvert, a bit curmudgeonly, but if dealing with somebody just that shitty for that many fucking decades, and they get so deep into everything, yeah, you know, Abeloth, tentacles everywhere. You know, you wouldn't be surprised if she was within that network of the Queen Consorts, as she harassed and harangued Princess Diana, and then also um, Lady Markle. And the thing is, I've never met Markle, but I'm pretty sure, you know, I don't know. I don't know where she's at as far as, you know, there's a little tinge of anger in her voice, but I don't know. But the way they attack, the unrelenting attacks, uh, that's just bullshit. Like, there's never anything, never a positive thing to say. And then it buries the fact that that the Queen Consort's son is a complete fucking shitbag. So, which is probably one of her main things to do. So, but right now I know this. There's probably always going to be the cluster B, you know, the it externalized personalities. And, and McRaven is, he's very good at explaining away his shite behavior, or attempting to explain away his shite behavior. Um, you know, and the other thing is, I need the money and the capital that has been raised off of my name, because they had no plans of ever remitting my capital to me for using my name and my likeness without my consent. Because it's obviously not the military. That's the only person's only entity that would be able to do so, and they'd have to say, well, and then goes back to the 13th Amendment, because he's trying to, as I said, psychopaths need, you know, Caucasian European American psychopaths, especially from the South, need, and I do mean need, that whole false self dialectic. Uh, There's shit all over the place. Um, yeah, that's why I smell it. Every time I leave, they fucking spray more on this shit. It's like all on the bed. It's weakening me, my muscles and everything. That's also the fact I haven't been working out, so I can't really call that for that. And I'm getting older. Um, you know, so, and you people, some people are blaming what makes you so special. Well, as I said, not just to be the whole situation that I didn't know about when I was younger, but just the way I do things. I was always gonna have a modicum of success. I didn't really need a lot of success. It wasn't my big thing. I personally prefer just to be my own thing. Oh yeah, the other thing that reminds me, just hits me, is also when I went to go get a job, I couldn't get a job. It's both after the military, but also from Full Cell. I was like, which didn't make any sense. I came up with this process with brand response, yet I couldn't get a job. And I realized, I knew immediately it was Rob. When they would call back to the school, even for an internship, they were, Rob was pulling some doublespeak, dang it. Something's right here. Rob was pulling double speak and then being racist bigot because they all speak the same. They all know. They all know how to say something without saying something. Doing the dog whistle, wink, wink, nod, nod. And so that was what Rob Cole did as far as me getting a job on multiple occasions. So I was like, this is, you know. So I was not mad at Full Sail because that's definitely not within the Full Sail way of doing things. It's just you have a bigot who happened to be the main course director or the department head, and who's made his career off of my hypothesis and theories. And that's the thing with Ken DiGilio. There's another thing about Rob Kroll that he did. It was a black guy, PhD, and then Rob ran him out of Full Sail because, well, he wasn't a little bitch. And then, of course, what did Rob do? Is he gets this one female black woman, and in all the pictures, she's always off to the side. Then Renesky gets his PhD, and then over the last 2 years, DiGilio gets another master's in branding. It's the same shit, same behavior pattern. Because remember, with these type of people, everything's an object. It's either an emotion object or just an object. And then their externalization on their racism, or in Rob's case, is bigotry. But I would not be surprised. I have a really strong feeling just because of the way Renesky behaved that um, McRaven or McChrystal or one of the admirals had also contacted him, defaming my name and my character. See, without defamation, and it's just like that chick, who accused me of rape in Tahoe. The only reason she would accuse me of rape is because I was wicked hot, and it would have been like she would have been the Queen Alpha chick to get the wicked hot, um, exotic looking dude that every chick was trying to get with. But because I prefer to have, if I'm with, one chick, baby doll, Jennifer, it turned out she was nuts. Thank God I didn't really hook up with her, but you can't fake being real for too long with me. It's gonna come out. The bullshit's gonna come out. The bullshit's gonna play out. And that's the reason I don't fucking just jump in. I don't like drama. I think it's stupid. It's a waste of time. That's politics, Mackie. Well, yeah, because of, especially the way Mackie. There's a difference between you have to play politics and laws, but in my personal life, nah, dude, stay the fuck away from me. And that's the thing. A lot of these Caucasian women don't want let these bigoted men know. They're like, I'm actually. It's just it makes sense, to create genetic variation. But if a woman does not know how to communicate, can't just sit down and have a conversation, can't just sit there. You know, no, no, I'm just gonna sit there. Okay, cool. Most women can't do that, especially around me. They act so fucking dumb. And it's like, fuck, dude, yeah, yeah, you're disturbing my chill, and no, you're either a value add, and I've always been that way. This chick has to be a value add to my life. I'm a very giving and caring person. And then you have these women who'll see that and they'll think, well, I can get him to do this. And they'll do their thing when there's really just showing their insecurities. So I would like to say to all those kids and all those, um, people who believe in America and who believe in me, which I have, we're going to change this. We're going to change up this world. On an international situation, you notice China's been trying to pull, well, pulling, you have MBS pulling himself over to China. And, China brokered the Iran Saudi deal or whatever, which was built off of the back of the Abraham Accords, so to speak. And then, but China, they were doing all this, but they sure did eat really loud, especially when it came to, and I stated, okay, Ukraine gets Crimea, right? We know how much, and they do the 51% ownership, state owned, because, they're not communists, but kind of like a sovereign wealth fund. Then the other 49% is open to, first you do the pensioners, 15 no more than 15%, then you do a stock split, um, then you allow uh, regular Ukrainians six stocks, no more than 15%. The pensioners, everything's built around the 15% of whatever the pensioners, and whatever the pensioners was, that goes into a separate account. That's going to help pay for everything as once the war is done. So that way the money's there. And then you have the 25% of that 49% left over for um, companies to do the exploration. So that way, they get the capital cost, they've got something, and then as over time, capital cost because it pays for their capital, so it's basically a wash. But then when I said, okay, you're going to sell the shares in America, going to black banks, but then you're also going to open up shares to Africans, to Africa. That's where China started getting all squirrely because even if say some of these African countries, like of the you know of that 49%, and that they buy a decent amount of shares, right? Simple stock splits, whatever, and then you go to Europe and regular open market. You're looking at, when I did the numbers just on the gas, well, even at 11 or 12 bucks LNG, after the sunk cost, which are pretty much a wash. So it's your floating your cost of goods sold on getting it out of the ground, out of the water, and then pipelining because the pipelines are already there. Most of the pipelines are there, so it's not going to be too much more capital cost in comparison to get that, and then selling it to Europe, and then selling it. You're looking at a couple $100 billion over a 10-year span that countries can use, or individuals, because that will also offset. Because we can take these and then you can split it up across partial ownerships, ownership of shares, tenth of a share for something like people in Africa. They might not be making much, but you can split it down to where they might have, say a hundredth of a share or something because they're living off of $5 a day, whatever country. That would be a boon to them. And then you have the African parliaments purchasing. So now they're all in for Ukraine to win because China does not, because if, um, yes, indeed, I had to clean that off. Um, if, these African countries are profiting off of Ukraine, it gives them more reasons to want Ukraine to win, to be able to get Crimea because, well, it's in their financial best, selfish best interest. And that's when China all of a sudden starts doing this whole peace thing, and now they're saber rattling even more so, and they are definitely going over there. They're going to continue ratcheting before they go over to Taiwan because they're seeing what McRaven is doing. They're seeing what the admirals are doing. They view us in chaos, and they figured, well, they know they just like Putin. They get racism. They understand that part. You know, Han Chinese are notoriously bigoted. Um, and they view Africa as a colony. How dare Africa be able to finance? And these are Commonwealth. A lot. Some of these countries are Commonwealth countries. So the question is, you know, it's the other thing with King Charles III pulling some bullshit. You have Commonwealth countries that aren't European American here, and here's in my situation. You're not following. Of course, I see it, his position. Oh, Magna Carta, I don't have to do shit. I can be a dictator. Blah 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 blah. And yeah, and that's it. He'll be the last. At worst, he'll set in motion the end of the British monarchy, which means then, because the way human nature is, it definitely will then affect the Republic of the United States of America and the Constitution, which is being slowly shredded. You know, look at the Fourth Amendment, which is shredded by the Patriot Act. Illegal searches or just can't come in and start rummaging through. But oh, the Patriot Act, yeah, we can, and somehow it's held up in court. No, that's just bullshit. Because all McRaven did was probably call me something, and they're like, "Oh, I can fuck with this person's life." Bullshit. It violated all the social contract and my constitutional rights. He can be bigoted all he wants. He can be as racist as he wants. That's his internal thing. But as a social contract, nah, motherfucker, you've interfered with my pursuit and right to happiness. And the main thing is, like right now with all the trading, and I was sitting there thinking about what was going on in my head. Is like why I was having some of the difficulties, especially right now. It's they're trying to steal my intellectual property. They've been stealing my intellectual property for years. They've been stealing my name for years. But now they want, as they're looking at my um, broadcasting shit, they've probably been doing this for years. It just happened to be that Jana was freaking out and people were watching it and there was nothing that. And then, those people, it's like, okay, he's way the fuck over here and she's fucking losing her mind and he'll do something here and she'll lose her. Yeah, they couldn't get around that. So by them not, because I know right now all the people that they don't want to give me my money. They think that they're going to just use me, as we know with Kathleen Kennedy. She now has the next one in Japan. She did instead of being in Anaheim as it usually is. She's in it's going to be in London, and then you have McRaven pulling the bullshit on me as I'm trying to do my trades and then all this other shit, and then you have Schumer. Not realizing that his job is to keep a foot up the president's ass, not just sit there and do bullshit. And when he had the opportunity to protect the Constitution, he walked right into the trap and shredded it. Right now, any dictator can go into the White House, and technically, Congress really doesn't have to. He doesn't really technically have to listen to Congress anymore. Courts might say this, or like that. Few, all you need is a few more judges, shut shit down, and we're thunderous applause. Democracy dies with thunderous applause, but it lives when people go to the streets and say, "This is our country. This is our social contract we have with each other." That we, the people, reign supreme in the land of the free and the home of the brave. May the flag forever wave over the land of the free and the home of the brave. And I sure, and Slava Ukraine, glory to your heroes, for you are also ours. So there are days I think about the reality of the situation. And if you say you wouldn't be overwhelmed by it, if it was you, yeah, you're the biggest bullshitter on the planet. If you were to say that. So anyhow, carpe diem. I only have a couple of weeks to get this shit done. See what happens.